How's it going, YouTube? Mike with Premier Reptiles. Today I want to talk to you about taming and potty training an iguana. So, one of the nice things about iguanas is that they are creatures of habit, so you can kind of get them in a routine so that way they go to the bathroom in the same place, and you can get like a little tub so that way it's a lot easier to clean out the tank because you could just take the tub out, clean out their excrement, put it back, and it's not all over the cage. I'll show you what I use for his potty. I got one of these large bowls, and as you can see, he's been using it. That's his bathroom there. So what you do is basically iguanas will wake up in the morning, get under the heat lamp, they'll warm up, they might eat a little bit, and then they'll go to the bathroom. This guy was usually about an hour after the lights would come on, he would go to the bathroom. So what I would do is, it's also a good way to help tame him, actually. Any of the time you spend with your lizard helps him get used to you. So potty training him, in a way, helps tame him. It's not the best way, but it's a good way to kind of work with your lizard. So in the morning, I'll let him warm up a little bit, and then I'll just pick him up. I'll try to be as cautious and slow as I can, because when they're young, they're very skittish. And then I'll place him in the potty. I'll try to get him to just sit there and be calm. Once I set him down, I'll slowly take my hand away, and then usually he'll stay there. If he doesn't stay there, I'll pick him up and I'll put him back over there until he decides to just sit there. And I'll wait until he goes to the bathroom. And I did that for about a week. At first I had water in here. One thing about iguanas is that if they're in warm water, sometimes it'll trigger their body to release whatever they have in their bowels. So I started with water, but the water was getting really nasty and he was trying to drink it. So I switched it to just being a dry potty for him to go into, which is fine. It doesn't need to have water. The only reason I used that was to help get him to go into it quicker. So you just take him, set him there, wait. After about a week, you'll start to notice he might do it on his own. You know, give him a day, give him a chance. If he doesn't do it on his own, spend another week just putting him there in the morning and waiting for him to go to the bathroom. Eventually that'll be his routine. He hasn't gone to the bathroom anywhere else in his tank in over 2 months, just after a week of working with him. And then another good way to tame him is you have to be very careful how you approach him, but just spend some time putting your hand in the cage and letting him get used to it. You'll notice him run around. He's very skittish. So at first he'll run around. Eventually he'll calm down and he'll get kind of curious and he'll look at it, and he might not approach you, but he'll go around without being completely afraid. Spend some time doing that, and then slowly try to move over and just touch your lizard. If he runs away, let him run away. Let him know it's okay. You know, you're not trying to force anything on him. You never want to force the animal to do anything. You're trying to become friends with the animal. You want him to know that you're okay and that you're not going to hurt him, that you're going to do things that are pleasant for him. And this type of cage isn't really the best because I have to approach from the top. Iguanas have a parietal eye on the back of their head that detects shadows. Birds of prey will come and scoop these guys up in the wild. That's why they develop that eye. So if you cast a shadow over their head, it'll freak them out and they'll run. It's nice to have a cage that opens from the front, so that way you can approach them from a lower position than they are at, which is why the other enclosure that we have the large iguana in is very nice. This guy's going to get moved into an enclosure like that very soon. This is just what we had at the time. So once you manage to get a hold of your lizard, try to scoop him up from underneath his body. Try to scoop him up from the side or from the front, never from the top. If you'll notice, he's a little sketched out by me, but I can kind of scoop him up. I can get underneath his body a little bit, and I can scoop him up. So once you have your lizard calmed down, just spend some time holding him. You could pet him a little bit. Just try to get him used to being in your hands and being around your hands. Getting him out of the cage is the hardest part, especially with this type of cage. It'll be easier once he's in the better enclosure. So one of the most difficult things is that the iguana will become untamed really quick, I guess you could say. After you spend some time, he gets used to you. If he spends like just a week alone in his cage, where all you do is put the food in there and the water in there, keep it moist and never play with him, he'll go right back to his natural instincts of being afraid. So you have to spend a lot of time with these guys when they're young, and then when they're older, they're much bigger, they're much stronger. This tail can whip you. This little tail of this guy can cut you open. So a large iguana, his tail could really, really do some damage. So you want to make sure you spend plenty of time with them when they're young, so that way they're not aggressive or defensive when they're older. Another really, really good thing to do is to try to hand feed them. When you hand feed the lizard, they start to associate you with providing them food. They don't have the social brain that a dog or a cat has, because they're a reptile, they're not a mammal. A dog will understand that you're the pack leader. These animals are very independent, so they don't recognize you as a pack. They don't even think in terms of packs. The only time they want to deal with another lizard is if they have to, because they're limited because of space, or if they want to mate to produce offspring. Otherwise, they're very independent. They do everything on their own. So when you're providing them with food, they're independently choosing to come to you because they know they can get food. They're not going to come over to you because they're your friend. So just approach them from the side or from the front. Never approach them from the top. Even now that he's out of the cage, you notice when I put my hand over top of him, he kind of moves his head, looks up to the side. It makes him nervous. That's because of this eye on the back of his head. It's called the parietal eye. They do seem to like being stroked where these little small bumps are by their front spikes. That always seems to get him to relax and close his eyes. So always scoop from the side or from the front. Never try to just come over and grab them. Try to hand feed them if you can. And one of the ways to do that, you could just hold something in the cage, hopefully he comes over and tries to eat it. Or once you get him out of the cage and you're holding him, try to hold a leaf in front of him. Maybe he'll bite it. He'll start to associate you with food, and then calmly put him back into the cage. You never want to do anything quick or sudden because they scare very easily. And over time, you'll end up with a reptile like Jasper, who is our other iguana that's very friendly. He can still startle sometimes, but that's just natural for any animal. I mean, you could startle your cat or your dog, and they're domesticated animals that have been around humans for thousands of years. So I'm going to put this guy back, or I'm going to go get some food and try to hand feed him, show you what that looks like. Alright, so I've got collard greens here. This is one of his favorite foods, and I'll just kind of hold it somewhere where he can start to check it out. He'll probably smell it a few times, and maybe he'll eat it. Here you go. Kind of grab it and tear at it. Okay, well, I guess he doesn't want any more. But, like I said, just spend a lot of time with him holding that in front of him. Give him plenty of time to decide to eat. Be patient. Reptiles are slow. Reptiles take a lot of time and a lot of patience. But it pays off in the long run, because our other guy there, Jasper, he's very friendly. And we can put him on a leash and take him to Walmart. We can take him to the park and let him run around on his leash. He's very friendly. He's never going to whip you with his tail. He's never tried to bite us. This guy's bitten me a few times. He whips me all the time. Hopefully that'll stop soon. So we gotta keep working on that behavior. The potty training really makes it easy to take care of the cage. Some people let their iguanas roam around the house when they're older, so having them potty trained to go in a specific dish makes it a lot easier, so you don't have to constantly go around the house picking up iguana shit. So just get something, put warm water in it in the morning, dunk them in the water, have them sit there until they decide to go to the bathroom, and after you do that for a week or so, it'll start to become the routine. You could leave the water in for like another week, because the water does help them decide to go to the bathroom. It helps relax their muscles if it's warm. It's got to be warm water. So I was always putting it directly underneath the heat lamp, so it would warm up. You touch the water, it would feel like it was like maybe 85, 90 degrees. Then you can remove the water so it stays dry, because the water is, any moisture around excrement is going to cause pretty bad smells, and bacteria could grow, because bacteria needs moisture and warmth. and the cage is already kept warm and semi-moist, so you don't really want too much extra moisture. So you could just dry it out. The iguana's already got the routine of going there to go to the bathroom every morning. Iguanas are animals of routine, so once that's set up, they're pretty much always going to seek that out. Kind of like cats. Cats, you don't really have to potty train. Cats know to go in the litter box. You might have to put them in there a couple times, and once they recognize that they can dig and they can go to the bathroom there, they just do it on their own. So that's what's really nice about iguanas once you have them set up. Once you've gone through that couple-week process, you can just leave them be and they'll go to the bathroom in their potty. And taming is one thing people have a lot of problems with. It's just a matter of time and patience. You just got to keep trying to slowly approach them, let them get used to your hand. It's good to have a hide in there in case they get nervous, but if they constantly use the hide as soon as your hand gets in there and they never come out and get a chance to be around your hand and be around you, you can remove the hide so that way they don't have a place to hide. Put it back when you're not trying to work with them, but when you're trying to work with them, remove the hide, put your hand in there so they're kind of forced to get used to you. I mean, you don't want to just force them to be around you, but you do need to introduce yourself to their environment. So I'm going to move on to our lizard that is already 9 years old and fully tame. Alright, so this is our adult Jasper. As you can see, he is much calmer about letting me touch him. He has spent years around people. He still gets a little bit woken up when you get near the base of his tail. Iguanas don't really like their tails touched, so try to just stay up on the main part of their body when you pet him. But he is very friendly. I could pick him up and he would just sit on my shoulder and I could walk around the house and he wouldn't cause any problems. As you can see, I had no problems picking this guy up, and I approached from the front too, so I never casted a shadow over his eye. It'll be interesting to see when I put Diablo, my other iguana, into this cage. I think his behavior will become a lot easier to deal with. So that's the only problem I ever have to deal with this guy. Is he always wants to climb over my shoulder, and his claws are kind of sharp. But no aggression issues, no issues with him being startled and like freaking out. He seems totally calm all the time, and this is what you can expect if you follow those few simple rules and spend enough time and have patience. You can have an iguana that's as tame and friendly as this little guy. And you hear a lot of horror stories of people that have iguanas that take over a corner of the house. That's their territory. If you try to come near it, it'll whip you with their tail, open its mouth, try to bite you, and that can be scary. This is a small iguana. This guy's only half as big as an iguana should be. He was kept in a small cage, underfed his whole life. The previous owners, not us, we try to make sure our lizards grow full size, big and healthy. But he was kind of dwarfed by that bad upbringing. So this is a tiny guy. I really wouldn't be too afraid if this guy got upset. But a large iguana can be almost 30 pounds, and that could be something you don't want to deal with. So make sure, have patience, spend a lot of time with them, at least every other day. Every day would be better. And don't get discouraged. I mean, I've spent a couple of months of every day or every other day spending time with Diablo, and he still freaks out when I go try to touch him. Sometimes he's good. If I've spent a lot of time with him, like over a weekend, by Sunday he'll be good. But if you just spend a few days away from him, they go right back to being scared. So anyways, that's all I wanted to touch on in this video. Just some basic things that a lot of people kind of don't really focus on with their lizard. You know, they make sure the lizard's getting the right food, the lizard's got the right humidity, temperature, and cage setup, but they don't think about how the lizard's going to behave as an adult. It's kind of, a lot of people have them as like display items and they don't play with them very often, and then they wonder why they get bit when they go touch it. So you got to understand that this thing is a living thing and it has instincts. It's going to try to defend itself just like any other living thing. It doesn't know what you are, and from its perspective, you look like a predator, you smell like a predator, you are a predator. In the natural world, human beings are a predator, so it's natural for them to be afraid. It's going to take a lot of time to break that. That's something that's come about through millions of years of evolution that you have to try to overcome by keeping an animal in captivity. So just be patient, follow those simple steps, and you should be alright if you keep up on it. That's all I want to talk about today. Please stay tuned. We're going to talk about how to keep iguanas healthy, because they are prone to some health issues when they're young. something like 90% of captive bred iguanas die before they're a year old. So that is something you definitely are going to want to look into if you have an iguana that's young. And please remember to like, comment, and subscribe.